Hi guys, welcome back to my channel on The Move with Linda. You are with me, Linda Okero, and if you haven't subscribed, please press the red button below. So today, I'm having such a blast. Even before we started recording, we were just laughing and enjoying life. Because honestly, there's so much happening when it comes to social, politics, COVID-19. And I thought, why not bring a friend over and we can touch on mental wellness, not just health. So welcome to the channel, Esther.
Thank you.
Looking fantastic.
I
So
tried.
we have had this conversation over and over again,
Yeah.
just about self-care. And we need to unpackage it honestly. What is mental health to you and what is mental wellness? I believe there's a difference.
That's a very good question. Oh Lord, you should have prepped me, Linda. um, Mental health. I think of it like, okay, if we were to equate it to something we're all familiar with, like our physical health. So like your blood pressure is normal, like there's a baseline.
Yeah.
And so you're healthy in your mind. How you process information, how you deal with information, good, bad, otherwise. I think wellness is sort of that other level. Like if we're to take physical wellness as well, you're exercising regularly, you're eating really well, you're doing great, you feel great, you're sleeping well. The balance is achieved, I guess, and then it's also able to be maintained. And I think it's yeah, I guess that's how I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in 2017, I'll share a very small story. I literally lost everything, resigned from work, amazing job, put some money in some business, failed miserably, broke up with someone I was dating. So it was like the full circle where nothing is really working out.
Right.
And I don't think I was depressed, but I was in a funk. And I believe there's a distinction between the two.
Yeah.
During that period of time, I realized it's very hard to put your mental wellness as a priority because you have other problems you're trying to sort out.
Right.
You're trying to pay bills.
Right.
You have a loan you're trying to sort out. The day-to-day responsibilities can't allow you to prosper when it comes to just being. Yeah, you can't prosper. So, and that's what I think most guys are going through, especially now with COVID. I think about how do I put food on my table.
No, I cannot agree with you more. And mental wellness is almost a luxury item because if you don't have food, you're not processing mental wellness. If you don't have work, if you whatever is going on.
Yeah.
So there's a friend of mine who, long story short, she had a mental crisis, for lack of a better term, and her mom was able to drop everything she was doing, come to her aid.
Yeah.
She was able to get sabbatical from work and basically go process and deal with her mental crisis. What? I was like, that's when I understood what a privilege mental health is, or mental wellness, maybe I should call it. That's when I understood that many, many people, most of us actually, would that ability to pause and deal is not available.
Yeah.
And I think for those who are able to, it's amazing, and please take it. But you quit from work, how are you going to pay your bills? Maybe you have kids, maybe you have you're taking care of sick family members. Who has died? Who has lost their job? Who has what? You're looking for food to put on the table. So that's why I tend to start from that baseline of mental health, and so I've been through therapy a few times, and the best way I think she described it was the ability to know which tool in your tool belt to bring out at what time.
Yeah.
So you can't always pause, and you may never be able to pause and go to Bermuda for 6 months.
Vacation.
Live on the beach, meditate, like center yourself, like pour yourself into art. I don't know, whatever it is you need to do.
Yeah.
You may not have that ability, but maybe you have these very small things you can do on a day-to-day basis that help you sort of balance and deal. So that's what she's like, Esther, I'm just trying to help you get the right tools to be able to balance and deal with life, it will come.
Yeah.
If there's a constant in life, is that things continue to
Yeah.
happen and they will never end. I think for most people, it's like when it rains, it pours,
Yeah.
for sure. So how are you able to do that if
Yeah.
you can't go to Bermuda for 6 months?
Or Maldives. So you say therapy. So you went to therapy for a small or big trauma, or both?
Both.
Both. Okay.
So something happened. So even the first time, there's a long time ago, I was working in the ER as a scribe and was going through some things, and one of the doctors was like, I think you really need to see someone, and really insisted. And I had what now I realize is a mental crisis episode, and that was the first time I went. The second time was also another big trauma. I tend to see them as, in different levels, right? And went again. And that time, the place I worked really insisted I go. And I went for about also 4 or 5 months every Friday. And what I've come to see, and I see quite an aversion to therapy, particularly in our culture, than with men. Like, you mention therapy, it's like, and basically, it's never a silver bullet. Similar to physical health, there's so many things you need to do to sort of balance, and therapy is just, I think, a tool. Then I think therapy was, for me, it was just eye-opening in that even the things like 5-6 years ago when I was in therapy, I'm still thinking about them now. So it's never like this end point that I went to therapy for 3 months, I'm healed. Thank you, Lord.
Yeah.
The chemo worked and now I'm done. No, it's these things you have to do on a daily basis, the tool belt that you need to sort of deal with life.
Yeah.
And I think that's what therapy does. And you just sort of learn how to walk, I think, better than you were before.
So are you still in therapy?
Not at the moment. I'm actually looking for a therapist. I've tried a couple, but it's a relationship. So that's why I also think maybe a couple people I know who maybe went once and like they didn't gel with the person and they ended it there. It's so personal. So you kind of have to a relationship. You have to try maybe a couple before you find somebody you feel comfortable being that like open with.
So you said your workplace actually facilitated you to go for therapy.
Found
that is like 1 in a million when it comes to...
They even
most
hired
organizations.
the taxi.
Oh, really?
Who took me every single Friday. I mean, when I think back, I was like, wow.
Oh, wow. Because actually most organizations don't even acknowledge the issue of mental wellness for its employees. So for this particular organization, whoever you are, big up, honestly. Yeah, that's really important.
Yes.
So for you, based on that experience, what would you tell, especially organizations which are like, you know what, this is personal issues, we can't involve ourselves with staff, mental wellness. What advice would you tell such organizations based on your experience?
No, I mean, they weren't even like, they weren't even they facilitated. So I obviously had, at the end of the day, to be willing to go. But I think their ability to realize, and I'm not, I don't even know what happened, behind closed doors for them to say, okay, Esther, we think this is something that would be important. Again, it was after a big trauma. So maybe that's what triggered them. So say like, I know there are organizations that were at the Doucet Complex Center that were, let's get guys to therapy, let's get them help, etc. So I know, big traumas really get people to sort of wake up to the fact that, okay, crap, we need to help our people. Unfortunately, people wait for big traumas to do something. I think, obviously looking back, I think it was very helpful to me to sort of, what is the point of me going to work, sitting at my desk and just staring at the laptop for hours? That's what I used to do. It was like a zombie mode for a while. So what benefit is it for you to have your employees on zombie mode instead of you perhaps spending a bit of resources, even if it's just giving them the time
Yeah.
to be able to deal, and so that they come back more productive and in a space to work.
Yeah.
But I know very few organizations would think of it that way.
Just the other day, Nike gave its employees 1 week
one
off. I
week
don't know
off.
if you saw it. I was like,
That's all in the news, and I was like, that's how you do it.
yeah.
People work, and that's why it's not always about like monetary resources. So I was lucky enough that they did pay for a really good therapist, but even just being given Friday between, I think it was like noon to 2, every Friday, I'm done half the day.
Yeah.
The taxi picks me up. I'm on my way to therapy. And just giving me time to be able to do that. I'm like, I mean, how amazing. So I think you can think of it in different ways. It's not always about team building activities. Guys.
The usual.
Guys.
Let's go to Naivasha.
We go and climb ropes for the day. It's fun. Sikatai. But I think there's so many ways you can support people. And the low-hanging fruit is team building, but there's so much more.
Yeah. Sometimes every day, my schedule. It's crazy. Like I call Esther and I'm like, Madam, I have had such a long day. Even just eating becomes a challenge.
Right.
It's a small thing. You can't even take a walk.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think we get so hyper-focused. So a number of us, like especially those who are, I think, very, you have a purpose, you want to achieve something. I tend to like hyper-focus. And interestingly, my kids have been the ones to forcefully help me learn how to step back and just like sort of look around. But 10 years ago, if you talked to younger Esther, she would have been like, I could focus on a thing so exhaustively until, food? I forgot about eating.
Yeah.
I forgot about so many things. So I think for me, mine was my kids. I don't know, different people would have different things. But to learn from them, because I think parenting is definitely about also learning from your kids. But to learn from them, to just the kids can be in the moment in such amazing ways and incredible ways that I'm like, I'm always in awe of just that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, but we were all there at some point. We were all there.
Adulting is hard. That's the thing.
So we lost it. We had to become responsible adults and do responsible things. But I think we sort of lost that verve, that spark that makes life, a little bit less gray. So I try and really basically draw that from them.
Yeah. And I think, just based on what you're saying, I want to be intentional when it comes to building a life that has quality. Because, this work-life balance honestly doesn't work. It doesn't exist, but it's a rumor. It's a theory. It's a concept that is on paper. For sure, I guarantee you, there's nothing like work-life balance. It is proven, personally, on my end.
Yeah.
So it's more or less, how do I become more intentional to build the quality of life I want? Because the way you're saying, if 5 days a week, I'm not eating, or I eat 1 meal a day, surviving on coffee, you're not walking, that's not quality life.
Yeah. And you have to ask yourself. I think there's a point I started writing and it was out of necessity. I just started pouring my thoughts onto paper, laptop.
Laptop.
And for me, that was another way for me to sort of disconnect from things. And a good friend of mine journals, and that for her is her way. And literally, she has journals, so she literally writes. So I think for those people who don't have loud, rambunctious toddlers in their house who force you to close your laptop because they're demanding your attention or whatever it is, but you also have to do something for yourself. And I think I found my end was writing. And when the first lockdown came, kids are home, the world is quiet, I started coloring with my kids. Oh my God, that shit was calming.
Really?
Oh my God. So I discovered there was
coloring, Esther?
Coloring. there was a whole world with like adult coloring books, and
Yeah.
so I started Googling about how therapeutic actually, because you're just doing this thing, you're not really thinking about it, and that's part of the therapeutic effect of coloring. You're just putting yourself into something that you don't have to basically, spend a lot of your cognitive resources.
Yeah.
So you can just enjoy it and be creative with it. I was like, holy crap. Hey, let me tell you, I had colored, Linda, I colored.
I wish I told you to carry
I'm sure.
some of the things you colored. I'm like, what?
Colored, we started painting. I went to textbook center, bought things, paints. What? It was so relaxing.
Yeah.
And then the world was like, no, we must open everything back up. Things must get back to normal. So I had to get back to the chaos. I haven't colored in so long. So somebody was asking me, and I was like, yeah, that I really should go back to coloring.
Yeah.
And I realized, like, when I was younger, I really loved coloring. I loved it. I loved art. I loved creating. And you had to become an adult and leave that. Watch out, too.
But I like the example you've given, because sometimes when you talk about self-care, guys think it's going to a spa, you have to put candles, you create this ambience in the house, which is still, it's actually quite expensive for most people. You can't sustain going to the spa every once or twice in a month. So it's the small things that you're saying just within your reach that you can be able to do. Coloring, writing. You don't need,
My friend, she said she cooks. I mean, for me, I can't understand that. I'm like, how is cooking therapeutic?
There are people who enjoy it.
Yes, for her, she said, I love it. I can just like look at creating new recipes. And then for her, it's her cooking time. And it's her time, and she closes the kitchen door, and it's therapeutic for her. Yeah, I mean, it's whatever you can do or need to do for yourself. And I think it also takes some energy to understand that yourself, to be able to know what that is.
That's true.
And I realize that most people taking that time to be like, okay, what's my thing? It's also a lot of work.
Yeah.
And so I realize that adulting, part of the, I guess, darkness of adulting is that who has the time? Everyone.
Well, that's true.
Everyone.
So you went to therapy. I want to go back to that.
Okay.
You had family around you. And I know it's conversations we've had before about the impact of the person who is going through any kind of mental health crisis and what it does to the family. And we rarely talk about that because your mom, your brother, your significant other, perhaps they were there.
Yeah.
What does that look like? And what do we need to pay attention so that it's not just the spotlight is on the person who is going through it, but also, quote unquote, the people around the individual as well.
And this is what I think everybody needs therapy, not just because of an incident, but like just somewhere to pour, I think, those dark thoughts, perhaps, little voices, your fears, because that's where it manifests from. And it's, I mean, we can all say, we all have traumas. Even living in Kenya is a constant trauma. I mean, this country, Kenya it's an abusive relationship. You love it so much, but it makes it so hard for you to thrive and exist and etc. And so I'm a big advocate that if you can find the space and if you can afford it, please go. So that's one. Two, I think there's also differences. So there's the issues where clinically you need a professional, right? There are plenty of people among us who have everything from bipolar disorder to manic depressive episodes, etc. For a long time, maybe we thought they were just weird. We couldn't put our finger on why this particular uncle of ours would become mad, etc. There's so many, I think, things we have witnessed and have forgotten the effect on sort of everybody
Yeah.
else around, as you're saying. Then you, how can we deal with it, etc.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's the small things. I know I can't fix all of Kenya.
Yeah.
I wish I could. I wish I could pay for everybody to go to therapy, heal ourselves. We stop cutting each other off in traffic. So much anger. We're all in traffic. Where are you going? Such.
It's the small things.
It's the small things.
Yeah.
So how do we do it better? If I could, I would. But so start where I can.
Yeah.
With my kids. And yeah, and I think just being mindful
Yeah.
about how
Yeah.
those things look like.
Yeah. But I love that. So as we finish off the conversation, besides having amazing insights about, because again, it's just our insights.
Yeah.
Everyone is going through their own experiences,
Right.
and they could have a different approach to it. So please, this is
Yeah.
not a one size fits all.
And I am not a mental professional.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
This
So,
coming.
so who is Esther?
Oh Lord, that's a big question. man.
Yeah. Who is Esther? The people want to know.
The enigma. That is Esther. Whole thing. Who is Esther? Esther is many things. Esther is what, an entrepreneur. That's a whole different. I think you and I think I've called you before and be like, I can't do this anymore.
I'm done.
What? The biggest thing about, I think, running a business, I'm learning now, right now, is
Yeah.
like dealing with rejection has been a whole new world for me.
Yeah.
And professional rejection, like personal is a whole whatever.
Yeah.
But things you are like, I've done this, I've written this, it's excellent, it's brilliant. How can someone reject it?
Yeah.
What? That's, yeah. So Esther's an entrepreneur. She's a lover of knowledge. There's so much I don't know, and I'm like, I want to know more than I did yesterday.
Yeah.
I'm a mom. What is Esther? That's such a big question.
She's funny, she's very social, and she is the founder of Tustawi, guys. So please follow them on social media. LinkedIn, Instagram. Please look
Yeah.
for Tustawi. Check out what they do. Amazing, amazing young lady making and breaking barriers as well. So thank you so much, Esther, for
Thank
joining
you.
me today.
Thanks for strong arming me to be here.
I did not,
So happy to be here.
but we can definitely do this again.
Yeah, I'd love
I think,
to.
I think the entire conversation about mental wellness cannot honestly be covered in one sitting.
It's a whole book's written about it, and
Yeah.
they still didn't cover everything. So yes.
And we are learning as well. So thank you so much, guys. Stay tuned and stick to On the Move with Linda. And if you haven't subscribed as well, thank you. Bye-bye.